Good evening. Do I have a motion to convene the June 7th Audit Committee meeting of the Levittown Board of Education? Mike, do I have a second? Mary Ann, all in favor? We are 6-0. Please note James Moran is excused from this meeting. He's in the sinkhole. He's working the sinkhole. May I have a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of seeking legal advice from the board's attorney? Peggy, can I have a second? Dylan, all in favor? 6-0. We will return at 7:30. Please note, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance when we return to open the meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Audit Committee meeting of the Levittown Board of Education. May I have a motion to reconvene the meeting? Dylan, can I have a second? Christina, all in favor? 6-0. Can I please ask to have the liaisons lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we please have a moment of silence to remember all those fighting for our country at home and overseas. Thank you. Please note, James Moran is excused from this meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to our internal auditors.
Sure, I'll just do a little introduction. I'm going to actually turn the meeting over to Mr. Fabiano.
Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent Winch. Tonight, we're going to be joined by Don Hoffman, our internal auditor, who is going to present findings on this year's review cycle, which deals with capitalization and inventory control.
Hello, everybody. Is this working? Yeah, okay. My name's Don Hoffman. I'm a partner with Cullen International. School district because it requires the cooperation and work of a lot of different people in a lot of different areas, right? So it involves the IT department, the music department, the facilities department, right? The business office, obviously. The district has, for a number of years, engaged a third party called CBiz, who's a well-known company. You hear their ads on Yankee games all the time. They do inventory type work for a lot of school districts on Long Island, right? Our testing was mostly related to the CBiz inventory, right, and the relative accuracy and completeness of that. But for the IT side, we spent in particular quite a bit of time trying to ensure that the IT inventory that the staff works with was accurate, right? So it's a little difficult to explain, but the asset value for your financial statements is almost insignificant. It's probably the least significant number on your entire financial statements. It really doesn't matter if your property is valued at $150 million or $160 million. That's for a part of the financial statement reporting that really is not significant, right? The reporting where you account for capital assets is purchases in the general fund as expenditures or capital projects in the capital projects fund, right? That accounting needs to be accurate, and we found that it has been historically, and you've got clean audit reports related to that. So the disconnect that we have found in our testing is that the CBiz inventory had lots of errors in it, okay? So this is the inventory that values your inventory for financial statement purposes. Fortunately, it's not the inventory that you're using day to day to run the operations. For example, the one-to-one devices by the IT department. They've got a separate inventory that appears to be accurate and well maintained. The disconnect with the CBiz inventory is that either they've not been getting certain information or they've been not recording it accurately, and the departments within the district have not had the opportunity to review the CBiz inventory to compare it to their records. Right? So we've been working, kind of hand in hand with Mr. Fabiano at this point as to what the next steps are, right? So our recommendations are several. One, come up with a plan, right? You need written documentation as to who's to do what including how information should flow to CBIZ. Okay? It's very, very important that be coordinated, needs to be coordinated by the business office. Are also making a recommendation that the district Board of Ed develop policies in a couple of areas related to the accounting for capital assets, okay? Primarily the asset values that you're going to capitalize for financial statement purposes, and also guidance as to what should be tracked by the different departments, right? So, for example, do you want somebody to track the 10,000 iPads or one-to-one devices that the district has? That should be delineated in a policy, right? And then the third thing is to work now, and you're at a good point in the fiscal year to do this because it's coming on to the close of the fiscal year, is to spend particular time in understanding what CBIZ actually does, how they do it, work to correct their inventory as it exists, because there's some obvious errors in it. For example, they haven't recorded disposals for a number of years. They haven't recorded any music additions in a number of years. So there's work to be done on the basic inventory. As that's done for this year, work on the procedures to get them accurate information for this fiscal year. Okay? Again, this is a lot of work for, trying to get the CBIZ inventory, which again is really only used by the district for purposes of financial statement presentation, right? To try to get that accurate. The more important part in my mind is the departmental inventories should be accurate and maintained well. And there's some work to be done there, but the work that we did on the IT inventory was favorable and positive. So that's the recommendation. I throw a lot at you there because it's a relatively complex area. Does anybody have any discussions about either what the findings were or about the recommendations?
So a couple of questions. You're saying that, say, like the Chromebooks or iPads, because they didn't meet the threshold, but we cumulatively put them together, and that's what we recorded, but they shouldn't have been recorded?
Well, no, actually, it's better that they are recorded, okay? There was an error where some significant purchases were actually recorded twice by CBIZ, okay? But there's nothing in your policy or definition of what's capitalized that says significant purchases of items below the threshold purchase as a group should be capitalized. CBIZ is doing that, but they're also capitalizing trivial stuff. They're capitalizing $500 worth of furniture, okay? So they're not following the policy in terms of that. But I recommend that for financial statement purposes, these significant one-to-one device purchases should be capitalized and depreciated.
But as a whole, as a group, correct?
As a group. As a group. Yep.
I have to hold my microphone in, it doesn't stay on. When was the last time we did an audit on capital assets?
It hasn't been done as an internal audit in at least 10 years.
You have never done it, right?
No.
I don't remember doing it either.
No.
And how often should that be done?
Well, it's an area, again, like anything else, CBIZ does some physical inventory work each year, okay? So one of the recommendations is to find out exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it. Part of that work should be inventory work. So that's an open item, right? We weren't able to get information about what CBIZ is actually doing for the district.
They don't have a list or anything?
Oh, they have a list,
No.
but the list was inaccurate. There was a lot of errors in the list.
That's interesting. I
Don't-
noticed you had stuff in here from 1960 to 2022, and the threshold was it was $2,000 back in 1960 as well, the threshold?
I don't know that.
Okay.
But there are old items on the inventory, that should be removed as obsolete or reviewed.
I mean, if the 2,000 is the threshold in 1960, that would be the equivalent of probably buying new cars today.
Yeah, I'm going to think that at some point the threshold was lower, right? Most school districts at this point are using a threshold of $5,000, and that's because federal guidelines for federal accounting for grant use requires equipment over $5,000 to go in a capitalized category. So most districts follow that, right? And you can, right, if the capitalization amount is 5,000, you can still track individual items less than that for tracking purposes and identification purposes, and you can have a policy of capitalizing significant purchases that the individual items are below that amount, but the purchase itself is significant, like the one-to-one devices.
I had another question, but when you spoke, I lost the question. It'll come back to me.
How are you, Don?
I'm well, Bob. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Now that was my question. Do you think we should review their contract? You know, if it's a little bit concerning that maybe they didn't fully cooperate with you, that they've made some mistakes. I mean, I'd be glad to, you know, from a legal viewpoint, review their contract and put their feet to the fire.
Sure. It's my understanding the business office is now, started to make inquiries as to, what they're doing.
I'm sure
what they
Mike
plan
will
to
do that too.
So, yeah, I think if he needs your help, I think he'll ask.
I'm sure. Okay, let me know, Mike. Yeah.
So I was going to ask and sort of follow up. So if this company is making all these errors, are they the only company that does this out there?
They are in most of the school districts that we are involved in. Yeah. So again, I think where you say the company's making all kinds of errors, I think you got to get down to the heart of what's happened. So for example, were they provided with the documentation, right? Did somebody review it? Entering an item twice, that's inexcusable. From my perspective, that's hard to justify. But did somebody give them the obsolete inventory records that the board had approved so they could adjust their records or not? Don't know. So as I said earlier, this is a very complicated area because there's a lot of information flow that's got to take place, that's got to be coordinated in some way, okay, for it to be accurate. And one of the recommendations, the third recommendation, talks about comparing the CBIZ inventory to the departmental records. So I know the IT department has good records. The transportation department knows what buses they own, right? So there's ways to be able to reconcile these numbers that can be done, by the different departments. That would be very helpful.
So then I guess my next question is, for all of you, do we have an action plan? Are we ready? We probably already hit the ground running, right? Look at my positive. I know it's happening.
Yes, absolutely. So we, during the process, we've already been discussing some of the things that we need to take action on. With CBIZ is, it's also utilized by our insurance company, NYSER. And as part of our premium, we are entitled to a full-blown inventory every 5 years. Paid by NYSER. Obviously, we're paying through our premiums, but NYSER contracts with CBIZ. For a reason that's unbeknownst to me, Levittown has engaged CBIZ every year, possibly because the inventory is so large. So now part of the planning process was to set up a meeting with CBIZ, which is going to happen shortly, and we're going to discuss what it is that we need. I think it's really just more communication between the company and the district. So, we should review their records. When they put an entry in the system twice, we should pick that up. When something has been discarded, accessed by you as the board, we need to communicate that with them. My understanding is we're just not making sure that they've then done those entries. So I think I was very pleased with the work that they did. Everything that they went out and looked for, they found, and especially with the IT department, the record keeping there has just been absolutely phenomenal. And then the other big area is then actual capital projects. So this is a really good time for us to get started because we're going to be doing a lot of capital project work in the upcoming years. So we're going to get it sorted out, and we're going to get it corrected.
Go. 1 second. So we need to codify our guidelines, exactly what we want these people to do, so we know that they're doing it, and not to just kind of willy-nilly do whatever they want to do. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. And right now, when we have our assets, I believe it was over $250, we'll have a tag on them, on the back, a barcode. I don't know, that might not be the threshold, but whatever the number is. So how could you scan that and scan it twice?
The scanning is used for the departmental inventory for the IT guys to know what they have. It's not necessarily used by CBIZ because CBIZ is not recording it that way.
I'm just thinking we should all be on the same page.
No question.
How are we going to correct the situation?
So again, we're gonna put together, per the recommendations, we're gonna put together a policy manual, procedures manual for the business office. We've already set up a meeting with CBIZ to discuss just better flow of information between the two of us, and we will move forward from there.
I'm sorry, I usually have the thing on here for the last 15 years, but now I have to hold this in, so my apologies. I'm looking at their site, and one of the nation's leading providers of accounting provider, employee benefit specialist, property casual brokerage and risk, consulting firm, valuation firms, retirement and investment solution providers. What exactly do they do for us out of this list I just read?
They go about and they are engaged to take stock of our physical inventory, as well as review the financial records for things that we aren't necessarily asset tagging. So a large majority of that are buildings improvement. And what is, one of the areas that we really need to look at is while a project is underway, the district will be expending funds. There's a category that we put that interim expenditures called construction in progress. Generally, a company like CBIZ is not going to view construction in progress. They only get that information when the project's closed out. So we will be sitting down with them, making sure that there are no future disconnects between things like double entry on a group of computers or iPads, that they have up-to-date disposal lists from us so that they're not carrying inventory on their list that we don't have. And then the third area would be how we account for these projects before they're closed, because we're actually expending money, and we want to show that on the district-wide financials. So the money that's being spent out of the capital fund is going on the balance sheet in the district-wide financials. So it is somewhat complicated, but it's not so much so that we won't be able to straighten it out relatively quickly.
I'm glad to hear that. Don, you've been our internal auditor for many years and done a fantastic job. And the reason I asked you when was the last time, because I always like to look and I guess hold it up to the light to see any changes on it, 2 sheets of paper. And I know that you'll help us get this straightened out. I know you're not here to punish anybody, you're just here to find something that needs correcting, and we do it. So thank you very much for that.
Yep, great. Okay. Thank you. So the next steps for the district is to put together a corrective action plan within 90 days. That corrective action plan gets filed with SED through their portal system. Our next engagement with the district will be the annual risk assessment, which we perform over the summer. I would expect that report would be in the fall, as always, and at that point, we would determine the area for detailed testing next year. I think when we met last November, I informed you that I was retiring this December 31st, so those plans are still on. But I will be involved in a risk assessment this summer. So, but we do have a transition
So we will
plan
not
in
say,
place.
we will not say goodbye.
What's that?
We will not say goodbye tonight.
You know, whether or not I'll be here again is
this
another issue.
This might be it.
This might be it.
If this is, we just wanted to thank you for all of your years of service to the district. It really has been a wonderful relationship. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure to help. Thanks very much.
Do you have a younger brother that can take your place, maybe?
I also just quickly want to thank
Excellent.
Mr. Fabiano and the entire business office for all the work they did with the auditors in regards to bringing this to a conclusion and for the future work that you will do to put these corrective action plans into place. So thank you.
Night. Just in regards to what Mr. Hoffman just reported about, the school board has created a subcommittee for policies, so we'll take his suggestions and we'll create a policy to match what his suggestions are. Do I have a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting? Dylan, do I have a second? Mike, all in favor? 6-0. Meeting adjourned. Do I have a motion to convene the June 7th regular meeting of the Levittown Board of Education? Peggy, do I have a second? Christina, all in favor? 6-0. We are now going to move to the auditorium.
Yes, so we were going to have the recognitions in here, but then when we came out of exec, we noticed that everybody was in the auditorium, and so we are going to move into the auditorium at this point to do the recognition. So I apologize for that confusion. That is actually my fault, but we are going to move now into the auditorium. So.
Welcome back to the regular meeting. If you could just take a look around the room, you're going to see the beautiful artwork created by students from Lee Road School. Many thanks to the students and their teachers for providing us with this wonderful setting to conduct our meetings in, especially with the newly painted walls. Looks fantastic. We will now move on to Mr. Winch.
Thank you very much, Ms. Messina. Just in regards to the room, we are doing some updates to the room. It's been a very long time, so we're trying to make it a multi-purpose space where we are able to do some trainings, professional development workshops, and also make it a little bit easier for people that attend to see the agenda and the presentations. And so you'll see some additional enhancements as the year goes on. Before I move forward, I just wanted to take a quick moment to just share a thank you to the Board of Education as well as the Central Office Cabinet, our administrative team, faculty, and staff, and really our entire Levittown School District community for working together to make this a really phenomenal school year. While not my first year in the school district, it is my first year as superintendent, and I honestly couldn't think of a better team to work with than everybody here and everybody that's in our schools as well as in their homes tonight. So again, thank you. I look forward to working together for many years to come. Finally, I do hope that everyone in our school community enjoys the final few weeks of school. As you can see by the recognitions we just did, we have a lot of phenomenal things going on in our community. Really great things to be able to get to go to. And I also hope that everybody has a wonderful summer vacation. I do not have any follow-up to prior publicly heard questions, as there were none, and I believe that Board of Education questions have been answered. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Winch. Before we move along with the agenda, I, along with all my fellow board members, wanted to take a moment to thank our board trustee, Dylan Kane. Dylan will be stepping down from the board after 6 years of service, and we want to appreciate your commitment to our students, staff, parents, and the entire Levittown school community. Please join me in a round of applause for Dylan Kane.
I just want everybody to know that Dylan started when he was 11 years old, too. Still looks young, doesn't he?
I do not believe we have any correspondence to speak of at this time. And now we're going to move on to our student liaisons. Yes, you guys ready? We want to hear maybe Jack Maurer from MacArthur first. All right.
Since our last meeting, there's been lots of happenings in General Nation. On April 27th, our dynamic symphonic band, under the direction of Mr. Romano, performed several outstanding pieces at our spring concert for all to enjoy. For those who were fortunate enough to attend, I'm sure that you will agree that the performance was spectacular. From May 1st through May 12th, we successfully administered our advanced placement exams, and I'm confident that all our test takers did well. As Mr. Sheehan stated, we administered an incredible 899 total AP exams. So please join me in hoping the results are fantastic for our well-deserving students. On May 16th, we conducted our first ever Breakfast of Champions, which was spearheaded by our school climate committee and our co-advisors, Ms. Porras and Mrs. Sanford. We recognized 43 incredible students that were nominated by their teachers because they are respectful, polite, and compassionate young adults who have raised a quality morale in the building simply because of their genuine and sincere positivity. They are a true testament to General Nation. On Wednesday, May 17th, we conducted our annual art show in the small gymnasium, where we illustrated all of the beautiful and magnificent talents of our art students. If you were fortunate enough to attend this special event, I'm sure that you will agree that our kids' talents is off the charts. Special thanks to our amazing art staff who worked so hard to put this fantastic event together. They are Mr. Boble, Miss Briskin, Mrs. Gomez-Vance, Mr. Mers, Miss Muir, and Mrs. Maza. On May 19th, we conducted our annual Senior Variety Show, where several talented and entertaining acts were showcased to a large crowd of spectators. Special thanks to all of our seniors and staff members that volunteered to participate, and to Mrs. Cristallo and our lighting and sound crew, and of course to Mrs. Reynolds and Mrs. Basundial for organizing and producing this fantastic show. We conducted our final spring concert of the season on May 23rd, which featured our ultra-talented orchestra and chorus. Kudos to Miss Musial and Mrs. Levenberg, as well as all of our talented students for putting on a spectacular show for all to enjoy. The following morning, on May 24th, we conducted our annual General's Breakfast, where an astounding 119 senior academic standouts were honored for excelling in the classroom over the past 4 years. Special thanks to our guidance chairperson, Mrs. Hammer, and all of our guidance counselors, and of course to our academically gifted seniors for this special breakfast. On Memorial Day, our dynamic marching band, under the direction of Mr. Romano, and Color Guard, under the direction of Mrs. Reagan, represented MacArthur High School by marching down Hempstead Turnpike for the annual Levittown Memorial Day Parade. Way to go, Generals. On May 31st, we conducted our annual senior breakfast in our gym, where each graduate received their caps, gowns, and yearbooks. And immediately after the breakfast, all graduates took a stroll down memory lane by walking through the halls of Salk Middle School for the senior clap out and were able to reminisce back to the good old days. Special thanks to Mr. Z and the entire faculty, staff, and student body of Salk Middle School for greeting all graduates with thunderous applause and well wishes. For the seniors, this will be a memory that will last a lifetime. On June 1st, we conducted a very successful senior awards ceremony on our turf field. It was a beautiful night, both weather-wise and due to all the accolades our deserving graduates received and were honored for. Congratulations to all deserving seniors, and of course to our scholarship and awards coordinator, Mrs. Miranda, as well as our Master of Ceremonies, Assistant Principal, Mrs. Rayo. The following evening, on June 2nd, we had our beautiful senior prom at the Crest Hollow Country Club. 380 students attended this special event and all had a fabulous time. Just a reminder, the last day of instructional classes will be this coming Friday, June 9th. In-class final exams during regular class instruction began on Monday and will conclude this coming Friday. Block time Regents exams will be administered from June 14th through the 22nd, where a complete list and schedule of these exams is posted on the MacArthur High School homepage, along with the busing schedule. Best of luck to all test takers. We just concluded a very successful spring sports season in General Nation. All teams competed with the heart and determination that makes all generals proud. And I'd be remiss to mention that in track and field, our girls 4x400 meter team, made up of Carly Kaprowski, Caitlin Berry, Gisabel Perlo, and Angelina Widmer, finished the season as Nassau County champions in this event. Special shout out to Dylan Vargas for breaking the school record in the 400 meter hurdles, and to our girls softball teams for capping off their season as Nassau County champions. Way to go, Generals. And finally, but certainly not least, the class of 2023's graduation day is Saturday, June 17th at Hofstra University, beginning at 1 p.m. I still cannot believe the time has come. And I would just like to say that the experience of being the board's liaison, representing MacArthur High School, this academic year has been a phenomenal experience for me, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to present my reports, which is shared with the beautiful Levittown community. This will be an experience that I will never forget, and I would just like to extend my sincere appreciation to all the members of the Levittown Board of Education, as well as to the superintendent, Mr. Winch, and his administrative team for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Jack. And now we're going to move on to Christopher Evans from Division Avenue.
Good evening, everyone. To start things off with student life, Division Avenue High School hosted spring concerts with the band and orchestra performing on May 15th and the choir and jazz band following with performances on May 23rd. In related news, the string orchestra participated in the NYSSMA Major Organization Festival at Hofstra on May 24th and received the highest ranking possible of Gold with Distinction. This was the first for the Division Avenue string orchestra. On May 24th, Division Avenue hosted its annual art show with hundreds of visitors being treated to a display of the amazing talents of the students in the art program. The art show continues to be a shining example of how Division students exceed expectations with the support of great teachers. Also on May 24th, students in Miss DeRusso and Miss Murphy's college writer classes visited Summit Lane Elementary School to read originally composed children's books to students in kindergarten through second grade. On June 2nd, hundreds of students and staff members gathered in the gym for Division's annual Culture Fest. Students wore traditional clothing of their cultures, prepared typical foods, and presented information about their heritage and culture to the interested visitors and their fellow students. Every year, the tradition grows larger and more students get involved. Thank you to Ms. Wheeler and the Positive Club for organizing and growing this event. On June 5th, seniors took part in a senior clap-out ceremony at each of the elementary schools they attended within the district. Students boarded buses to each school and proceeded through the halls to the cheers and clapping of their former teachers and the students. The seniors were led by elementary student musician drum lines in each building. The event was a fun and nostalgic experience for everyone involved. On June 6th, seniors and their families gathered in the auditorium for our senior awards ceremony, where 123 students in the class of 2023 were presented with awards and scholarships for academics, extracurriculars, and strong character. For the first time, we have 52 students receive the Seal of Bioliteracy and 64 students receive the Seal of Civic Readiness. On May 25th, the CD program participated in field day events. It was a morning of fun and excitement. The students participated in an obstacle course, cornhole, bocce, and more. Special thank you to Ms. Walsh for organizing a great day. On Monday evening, members of the Tri-M Music Honor Society hosted their 6th annual Acoustic Cafe. Students and faculty performed beautiful music in the Foglia Garden. All proceeds will be donated to the Harmony Program, an NYC-based foundation that provides after-school music education opportunities for underprivileged schools. A job well done to all involved. Moving on to academics, Division Avenue congratulates Alex Gao on winning the 2023 Nassau County District Attorney's Shield Award, presented to high school juniors who showed outstanding character, commitment to self-growth, and the spirit and initiative to bring about positive change in the community. Division Avenue also wishes to congratulate junior Armand Singh, who was selected as one of the recipients of the prestigious Rensselaer Medal and Scholarship Award. This merit scholarship is worth $30,000 per year, guaranteed for all 4 years, and is awarded for promising students who have distinguished themselves in mathematics and science. Division Avenue would also like to congratulate Abigail Montes for her recent success and recognition in art. Abigail was selected to have her art displayed in the annual Long Island's Best Art Show at Heckscher Museum and was then selected as the Virtual Visitor's Choice Award among all the works displayed at the museum. This is an incredible accomplishment and distinction in itself, but in addition to that, Abigail recently had artwork selected to be displayed in the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Abigail's piece, titled Oceania, was selected by the office of the 4th District Congressman Anthony D'Esposito to be put on prominent display in the Congressman's office in the Capitol. Oceania was selected as the top mixed media piece for all of District 4. And lastly, moving on to athletics, as seasons came to a close, on May 15th, 9 Division Avenue student-athletes were recognized for signing commitments to continue their athletic pursuits at the collegiate level. Division Avenue had several teams competing in the postseason this year after a very successful regular season wrapped up. The softball team, the flag football team, and baseball team all qualified for the playoffs. In particular, the baseball team had a very successful season, going undefeated in the regular season with a record of 20-0, capturing the Conference A3 title and the Nassau County Class A County Championship by dating Calhoun High School. And just some quick words. I'm honored to have been a part of these board meetings and speaking on behalf of Division Avenue High School. It's an experience I'll never forget, and I'm incredibly grateful for all the board members for presenting me with this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you both. As I mentioned in the auditorium, that we did have one more recognition to do, but we kind of felt it was appropriate to wait until they gave their final report. So this last recognition is somewhat bittersweet. You may remember on the board, way back in the fall, when Mr. Kasha and Mr. Sheen joined us to share the stories of our 2 new board liaisons. And we have been lucky over the past 10 months to be graced with their presence, providing updates from our 2 high schools in order to enhance the connection between our governance team here and our students. Those updates have been informative and entertaining, and we appreciate the time that they've dedicated to our board meetings, because we know that you have a lot of other things to do. My youngest is a junior in high school, and I know that she's never home, so I'm sure that you probably have a lot of other things you could be doing, but instead, you've spent 1 meeting a month with us to let us know all the phenomenal things going on at Division and MacArthur. So we wanted to let you know how much we appreciated your dedication to us and our district, and wanted everyone here to know how much we will miss them. After June, their stories will continue elsewhere. Chris Evans from Division will be attending Boston University for economics, and Jack Maurer from MacArthur will be attending Georgetown University in the fall and is currently undecided on his major. We wish them success and happiness as this chapter closes and another one opens. Please join me in congratulating and thanking our board liaisons for the 2022-2023 school year, Chris Evans and Jack Maurer. And we are going to take a photo, so we're going to move on over here. We have to do a photo. They're posting on Facebook that Levittown's closed tomorrow. Yes.
Thank you very much again, guys.
No.
We're now going to move to the public be heard portion of our meeting. We do not have anyone signed up for public be heard this evening. Yes? Okay. We will now move to our consent agenda.
I just, Ms. Messina, I do have one change to the consent agenda. On Schedule 1007.1, number 26, we are going to pull. That's 1007.1, number 26. Other than that, there's no other changes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept items 1 through 18 on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept items 1 through 18 on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mary Ann Adrian. Do I have a second? Dylan Kane. All in favor? 6-0? Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that on the consent agenda tonight, we did have several new staff and faculty members that were hired, so I'm just going to turn this over quickly to Mrs. Rifkin.
Okay, thank you. I'll just introduce some of the people that have joined us this evening. Nicholas Acavelli, who will be teaching World Language, Division, and SALT. Nicholas, stand up. Amber Browning, who will be teaching World Language at MacArthur. And Jessica Marciano, who will be an elementary assistant principal. We welcome you all to the Levittown family. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations and welcome to Levittown. We're now going to move to action items. We have new business is gifts to schools. A check in the amount of $11.20 to be used for materials for students during recess at Gardner's Avenue School from Box Tops for Education, 13700 Oakland Avenue, Highland Park, Missouri. Is that right? Am I? Yes. 48203. May I have a motion to accept this gift with thanks? Oh, thanks, Mike. Do I have a second? Dylan? Any discussion?
Goodbye, Dylan. I'll miss you, Dylan.
All in favor? 6-0. Ad hoc, we're going to send this over to.
I'll take it for now. We do have a couple of different policies. These are on for second reads. Remember, these were the policies that were on, I want to say about a month ago, that the board had discussed updating the language to remove the shalls, the word shall, and replace it with the word will. And so that is, for the most part, why they're back on. But I guess Ms. Rifkin and Dr. Zirianis probably have some of these different policies. So Ms. Rifkin, I'll turn it over to you first.
Okay, thank you. So the first policy will be Policy 7350, Corporal Punishment, Emergency Interventions. And this policy has been updated to include a portion about parent notification when physical restraint has to be used with a student, and this is in compliance with state regulations. Are there any questions on this policy? Okay. And the next policy is Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. And other than cleaning up some of the language in this policy, the change in this policy is a portion about prohibiting discrimination against students, gifted students. Just because they have a 504, we can't discriminate against them as far as going into an AP classes or any awards or honors. So that's now included in our new policy. Any questions on this policy? Thank you.
Dr. Zirianis?
Sure.
Taking a look at policy 7210 about retention, we did have some language change with the word shall, but the major change, which was just removing some of the language that suggested that retention was a function of CSE. So we did remove that language because our retention policy is not a function simply of a CSE, so we wanted to make sure that the policy did not reflect that information. So we removed those couple of lines that suggested that.
Thank you.
Oh,
Wait. If there are no further questions, then as that's the second read, it will go on the reorg meeting for adoption as a resolution.
Good. All right. Our upcoming dates, if you guys are free in the summer and you're looking for something to do, our first meeting for the school year would be on July 5th for our school year in terms of like finances and everything, for our organization meeting and regular meeting, and the next one would be August 9th is a regular meeting. Can I please have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting? Dylan, do I have a second? Peggy. On behalf of Dylan. All in favor? 6-0, meeting adjourned. Woo, Dylan! Enjoy.